Initially I studied fine art, and I was quite clear that I wanted to study without specialising. So there was not a discipline, it wasn't sculpture, it wasn't painting, it was just fine art, and that was quite broad. And that's something I've kind of kept with. And it's probably got more broad as I've gone along. So now, I guess, I describe, if not my practice, but my livelihood. I lecture at London Metropolitan University. I'm the education officer for Fermynwoods Contemporary Art, which is an arts organisation in Northamptonshire. I do an awful lot of freelance, different every week, every month, and then kind of sitting over all that is my own artistic practice. But they interchange, so I kind of learn from each different sort of discipline, different area, and they sort of feed into each other. When it works really well. When it doesn't, it's really busy, but that's fine, that's great. I think probably the most important skill, I'm not sure how you teach it or improve it, but it's probably confidence. So maybe even knowing that there are lots of people who aren't very confident, and just because they appear confident, it doesn't mean that they are. I've seen an awful lot of people who are fantastic, and it's just such a barrier. It's just confidence. But being aware of that, I think, is a way to improve it. And then probably more of a boring answer would be IT skills nowadays. I kind of grew up with. I was studying as the internet kind of arrived. I think lots of people take it for granted now, but there's still a generation that don't know. They have no idea how this stuff works. And just by having some basic IT skills, you stand yourself in such good stead, because there's a level that they need your skills already, and then things are increasingly digital. I can't remember the last time somebody showed me a slide or emailed me a picture. It doesn't even exist on CD anymore. It's just in the cloud somewhere. And then probably even more boring is risk assessments. They're not fun. It's probably the most boring part of my job, or jobs, but it opens lots of doors. It's a barrier, and if you know how to get around the barrier, it's really, really helpful. I think realising that networking isn't necessarily a dirty word. Meeting people physically as well. I think at the end of the day, people are human. You can email people, meet them online, but ultimately they're human, and if you meet somebody for real, make the effort to do that. I think that's essential. But realising that you're not compromising yourself. Be yourself. You know, it's not about kind of meeting people, hanging around, sucking up to people, but you have something to offer, and it's a genuine interest. And I find that's the most valuable relationships, when it's genuine and it's not an artificial meeting. The interesting thing with work experience from a sort of fine art perspective is you can quite often be squirreled away in your studio and never meet anyone. And it's a kind of philosophical question, but ultimately you probably need an audience. So get one, you know, make an effort to get one. So ways of doing that, I think, would be volunteering for sure, but there's a limit. So don't be abused. You have something valuable, but you might need to kind of have a taste it for free before you're taken up on it. I think a significant factor for me is probably reflecting on bad experiences and being able to kind of move on, but kind of address, if that happens again, what would I do differently? Or if there's nothing I could do differently, then how do I deal with that? How am I placed? Also, not underestimating the kind of take everything seriously. I did some work a long time ago with a group of pensioners, and at the time it was just a job. And a friend persuaded me, no, take it seriously. Treat it as if it's your own work. And it was probably the best advice I've had, and it really reinforced for me the kind of value of how powerful art can be. If I knew then what I know now, I would have answered back an awful lot more, I think. Trust myself and not be kind of railroaded or diverted, or so kind of stick to what I believe in, because ultimately, when all else fails, that's all you've got. And I think sometimes some people treat you as a threat, and you might not realise it, but your kind of bad experience, it can be, it's not a reflection on you, it's a reflection on the person giving you the experience. Okay, the first thing would be, I think, start now. Don't wait until you graduate. Don't think, okay, this is a bubble. It is to some extent, and then we'll start maybe after the summer, or Christmas, whatever. Start now. You've already got a great network around you. Get ahead of the competition. There's lots of people graduating at the same time as you, and you know, what are you waiting for? Perhaps also, don't underestimate what you've got. If all you can afford to buy is, I don't know, string, then maybe your work's about string. If you can't afford to leave your front door, then maybe there's something in that. Maybe your work is about your kind of locality. So don't wait for perfection to come along. Start at small steps. You never get perfection in one go. You have to aim for it, but build up to it, and don't expect it.